This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com and buildermasterclass.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. It's my job to help you, the construction business owner and leader, eliminate chaos and maximize profits. In this episode, you're going to hear an interview with Corina Burton. She's the co-owner of CPR Construction Cleaning, which currently serves the Arizona, Utah, and California markets. It's a fast-growing business. This is a great conversation. All right, this is a great conversation, and you're going to hear us talk about topics including, this was interesting, why Corina says it's important to expect nothing in life. Let me say that again. She says it's important to expect nothing in life. You'll also hear what it was like starting a business as a single mom. We talk a lot about transparency and authenticity. The reality is most people, most of you, shy away from these things, especially on social media, but Corina has leveraged them to grow her business. This is a fascinating part of the conversation. You'll also hear how she manages doubt and fear, her approach to maintaining a positive mindset, and how she deals with the inevitable setbacks that entrepreneurs deal with. This is a great conversation, okay? I have found that some of the best lessons can be learned from those who have experienced adversity and won. And that is certainly the case with Corina. Before we get into this interview, here are a couple of resources that I want to get in your hands. LL Flooring is one of America's largest specialty retailers of hard surface flooring. They understand your floor is the foundation of your home style. That's why they offer over 400 floors, all at the best value, including Bella Wood hardwood floors, backed by a transferable 100-year warranty. Visit one of their over 400 stores to find the right hardwood, waterproof vinyl, laminate, bamboo, or tile flooring for your style. Their flooring experts will guide you every step of the way, from finding the perfect floor for your project to arranging safe, professional installation. LL Flooring has a variety of digital tools to help you transform your home. Use their Floor Finder tool to discover options for your project, and then use Picture It, their online visualizer, to see your new floor in your space before you install. For store locations, style advice, and more, visit llflooring.com/pro. These are the floors homes are built on. llflooring.com/pro. Let me ask you two questions. How many hours did you waste in the last month doing free estimates? And then how many profit bleeds, like rework, lost time, schedule delays, and even uncomfortable conversations have you had in the last month because of free estimates? Look, a growing number of builders, remodelers, and commercial general contractors are getting paid to do pre-construction planning and estimating. They're getting paid for their time. They're wasting less time, maybe even no time, with tire kickers. And they're cutting out a lot of the profit bleeds that are caused by free estimates. But what could I possibly say to a potential customer to get them to pay me for an estimate when everybody else does them for free? If you're wondering that, there are 3 specific questions that you can ask on your next appointment to get your prospect, and maybe even get yourself, to see that it's in their best interest to pay you for pre-construction services. Don't send out another free estimate until you learn these 3 questions. Go get your free training video with those 3 questions over at buildermasterclass.com/script. That's buildermasterclass.com/script. Now, let's get to my interview with Corina Burton. Enjoy. Corina, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. How are you this morning?
I am good. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I've been following you. I guess we got connected on LinkedIn sometime in the last few months. And I've been impressed by the content you've been putting out, and thought, you know what, I just wonder if she would be interested in sharing her story, and I'm glad that you responded affirmatively. So let's start with this. Speaking of LinkedIn, one of the posts of yours that caught my attention started with this line, quote, "It's important to expect nothing in life," end quote. And there were quite a few comments that stirred up some conversations, but I'm wondering, can you expand on what that means when you say it's important to expect nothing in life?
Well, it's actually funny that you bring this up, and I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday I had a interesting comment. Even though I posted this probably about a week ago, I'll always just have like trickling in comments and likes on several posts. And this particular post, I did have someone reference to that post saying, "I don't agree with this. I'm basing this off of my athletic experience." I'm assuming that she had mentioned something about being on the volleyball team or something like that, and saying if I went into a game expecting nothing, then I wouldn't win. And then she also referenced that she had read hundreds of books about self-help and self-development and self-improvement, and how they all say it is so important to have an expectation of what your life is going to be like. And although those are, self-help books, self-development books are great and they're really wonderful, but until you live until life, okay, I'm so sorry. How do I say this? I don't want to demeanor or devalue anyone's experience in life, but until you live your life in a way with lots of different trials and challenges, and it's not just you, yourself, and your self-help books, is when you realize it's like parenting. Here we go. Here's a great example. Since you had mentioned you have 4 kids, I have 4 kids as well. And when I had my first child, I read all of the parenting books. I read all about the pregnancy books, and I came to find out that although those books were great, they are not realistic in what your expectations are going to be. And parenting children is not going to come out from a book. It's going to come from your willingness to learn and to grow through your experiences, and to take the things that you've learned and try to apply them to your life in your way. So when I saw her message say that, I was like, okay, well, I hear what she has to say and I see where she's coming from. But then I decided to elaborate on my post and where I was coming from. And I explained to her that my past life, I came from a life that on paper, it looked perfect. On paper, I had the perfect marriage. On paper, I had the perfect lifestyle. And on paper, I was doing everything perfectly so that I could then have an expectation of X, Y, and Z of a perfect life. When that didn't turn out that way, I was completely derailed in my life. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I lost my entire family. I was now a single mom of 3 kids. I had no money at all. And that's when life taught me to not expect anything, but to work your ass off every single day for the things that you want. And although I have a goal in mind of the things that I want and what I'm going to achieve, my expectation of how life is going to deliver that to me is not going to be there, because I understand life is going to hand me the things that I want in its own package. Sometimes life will hand me the things that I want as I've worked hard for it in the package that was hoping for and my goals were. But I would say probably 75% of everything that I work hard for on a daily basis, it doesn't necessarily hit my expectations of what I'm looking for. It always overachieves what I'm looking for. And I don't necessarily always see that right at the beginning. I see that over time, I look back and I say, okay, yes, I see how that worked out, because now look at where I'm at. So my post was really coming from a place of, if we all live our lives having these high expectations and thinking that our hard work is going to get us there, and our expectations look a specific way, more often than not, we're going to be disappointed, and we're going to think, okay, well, I didn't get what I thought I was going to have, so that means that it's not meant for me. And that's not the truth. What's meant for you doesn't always look like the package that you are expecting, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And in fact, I read a few years ago, I started reading about Stoic philosophy, Stoicism. And I realized, after being consistently frustrated and missing expectations in my life, I realized I used to think that, well, the problem was, as you said, it's just not meant for me. You know, if it doesn't work out, it's not meant for me. It's meant for somebody else. I just don't have what it takes, etc. But what I realized was the reason I was frustrated was because I had expectations. Right? That's where frustration lives, is in between reality and expectations. And what I found was sometimes things went really well, better than expectations. But that didn't set my world on fire. That wasn't life-changing. I typically just had something else I could focus on that I wasn't happy about. So what I realized was the best thing I could do is just not have expectations, and expectations on results, but have specific expectations on, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work my ass off. I will do this consistently, knowing that good things will come to me. But I'm terrible at predicting the future. I tried it for a long time. Like this, having these really vivid images of what things are going to look like, or expectations, and they just didn't seem to work out. So yeah, I saw that comment from the lady on LinkedIn about that, and that maybe she just hasn't done enough life yet.
I think that's, and I was actually, when I read her post, I responded, and then she was kind enough to respond back and said, I see where you're coming from now that I have explained myself a bit more in regards to that. And she had suggested that I elaborate on the post and create a new post about it. But I think a lot of us and those that resonated with that post are the ones who understand how life is, especially when you have so many moving parts that are completely out of your control. And, you know, I was really happy that she made that comment, because it did allow me to realize that not everyone has gone through the same experiences. And so when I say things, I need to be able to resonate with everyone, not just the people that have been through some of the same similar things as myself. So, you know, I thanked her for, you know, bringing that up, and that I would be, I would be more considerate of elaborating on certain posts or certain topics that I feel like maybe not everyone fully understands unless they've kind of walked that walk themselves as well. So it's good. It's good to hear people's feedback, that I can be able to improve myself and how I can share experiences, because once I explained it, she felt like, okay, yes, I hear you. And that excites me. And I can't wait to read more of your posts and be a part of your connection here on LinkedIn and support you as an entrepreneur. So, you know, I felt like it was a good result of the experience. But it also got me thinking as well about the word expectations. From the time that my life completely changed in so many ways, almost 10 years ago, to now, I've had various experiences of life not working out the way that I had hoped or expected, or because I worked really hard, it didn't pan out to my expectations, which then caused me a lot of frustration and sadness and, moments where I felt like, well, maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I'm not meant to be successful. Maybe I'm not meant to be happy. But then I kept thinking, this word expectation, it's just, for me, it's not, I don't have expectations. I have goals. I have ambitions. I have expectations of myself rather than things or my desires, so expectations for myself of knowing, even when I fall on my butt, even when things get really hard, I expect myself to cry for a second. It's okay. It's okay to feel sad about it, but to get my ass back up and get going. And I expect myself to not allow that experience to derail me so far past that I can't get myself back up. So I think for me, like, expectations is more on expectations of my behavior, expectations of how hard I work, and expectations of having goals and ambitions rather than how life is going to present the things that I want to me.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned the phrase meant to be. I didn't feel like I was meant to be successful. I wasn't meant to be happy. And I've thought the same thing. I've wondered and heard this voice in my head say, well, it's just, that works for other people, but it's just not, you're just not meant to be whatever, wealthy, happy, fill in the blank. It sounds like you've done a lot of work to get to where you're at with your mindset. And we'll talk about transparency. We're going to talk about your business and get into those details. But I want to talk about mindset. How important is mindset for an entrepreneur?
Well, honestly, I feel like everything. If you don't have the right mindset, even when you are derailed, you're not going to make it. And I think people think like derailed means that you kind of have a blimp in the moment, right? Maybe your business is struggling, but you're able to get back on track. I'm talking about mindset of where everything completely fails. You have to be able to have the mindset to say, just because this time it didn't work, it doesn't mean that it's not meant for me. And it doesn't mean that I can't be successful. And it doesn't mean that I'm not supposed to be an entrepreneur. So for me, mindset is literally everything, just from my personal experiences of what I've been through with my career, and my life in general, that if you don't have that right mindset of being able to be a self-motivated person, encouraging yourself, and like I said, that doesn't mean that you can't give yourself a moment to cry and to feel the sorrow of what has happened. It means that you are then able to say, fuck this shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on here, but literally is what I tell myself is, F it. I don't care. I'm going to get up and I'm going to continue moving forward. And that takes a really strong mind to overcome that feeling of disparity. And I feel like athletes can really relate to that. I was a long distance runner for a really long time. And the one thing I absolutely loved that I felt like I was able to take away was mindset. Being a long distance runner, it's mind over matter. Your body is screaming, your legs are screaming, you're like, I can't do this anymore. But if your mind is saying 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and then suddenly you're at, 26 miles or however far you're going. And suddenly you're done and you're like, I accomplished this, but it's because you did not allow your physical body, your feelings, the screaming in your head because your body just can't take it anymore, to overcome your thoughts in your mind of saying, I can do this. I can do it, just one step at a time. So, that's the beautiful thing about being in sports and doing athletic things, is it really teaches you mind over matter. In business, it's the same thing. It's mind over matter. If you don't have that strong mindset, then you're setting yourself up for failure when life is not going to start, when life doesn't go your way necessarily.
Yeah. It's not if, but when, because it's coming. And I've maybe you've had the same experience, but I remember talking to somebody in the last couple of years. They just started their business. They were about a year into it. And I said, so how's it been going? And he said, honestly, it's been magical. And I thought, you haven't experienced that yet. So, two questions about mindset. The first one is, in addition to being a long distance runner, what else helped you to develop that mental toughness? Was there anything specific? Was it something that was forced upon you to survive? Did you intentionally do it? But what else has helped you to develop that mental toughness?
I hesitate. Well, I don't know how. I feel like you're going to force me to be super transparent here. So when I was married for 10 years and I had 3 beautiful daughters. And when I got divorced, it was really a matter of either you're going to succeed or you're going to fail. That's literally the only options I had. And I knew that I wanted a life where I could be successful, where I could enjoy my talents and become the person that I knew I could be. I had no work experience, other than being in high school. I got married very, very young. And I had just being a stay-at-home mom for 3 years, or not for 3 years, sorry. I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years with 3 little girls. Didn't have my college education. And I thought, I'm not going to move back home with my parents. I want to be able to achieve my goals. And so I did something a little crazy. At the time, I lived in Arizona, and then I decided to move to West Hollywood with my 3 girls, and I went to school. I lived alone. And during that time, I chose to challenge myself. I chose to go back to school, work, juggle my 3 kids, run a half marathon, all these new experiences, because I wanted to prove to myself that I had the willpower, I had the abilities, I had the talents, I had the opportunities. And for me, I can look back and say, if I wouldn't have stepped out of my comfort zone that quickly, within a month of my entire life changing, I don't know how strong I would be today without going through those experiences, if that makes any sense. I chose to challenge myself. I chose to challenge how far I could go. I chose to challenge how hard I was going to work. I chose to put myself out there and take on the world. I wasn't scared. So with that, I'm very thankful, because I will say things that experience, things were going pretty smoothly and going my way. And then it didn't so much after that. And I've had to go through a lot of difficulties and a lot of trials. And so I'm really grateful that I listened to my intuition and I made those decisions to start making my mind stronger. And I also gave myself the opportunity to see what my talents were, the things that I was good at, the things that I was very drawn to. And so, yes, I would say that is my experience. And I've also dealt with chronic illness as well. So with that, learning how to deal with a body that doesn't always function properly and almost being in a chronic pain of some sort on a daily basis also really challenges your mind of thinking. And this is something I actually never ever talk about. I don't think any of my clients know that I deal with this I've dealt with this on and off for the past 15 years of my life. And when you deal with chronic illness, your mind becomes stronger because you have to then do something so simple, but takes 10 times the amount of strength physically and mentally, saying, I can get up out of bed. I can physically do this. I can take my kids to school. I can go to work. I can go meet with my clients. So yeah, life has been awesome for me. It's given me a lot of challenges so that I could, better strengthen my strong mind and my willpower.
Someone posted a question a few months ago on LinkedIn about, I think the question was, what has helped you to develop persistence or perseverance? And I thought about that. And the number one thing for me and in our families, our oldest daughter is special needs. So she is nonverbal, severely developmentally delayed. We have to do everything for her. And when you just have to, well, and one of the questions people would ask, it wasn't a question, it was a statement. They would say things like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do that. And my wife and I would look at each other and say, well, not doing it isn't an option. So you just pick yourself up, you drag yourself out of bed, you go to the next day, and you just freaking do it. And because not doing it is not an option. And it sounds like that's sort of where you were. You were in a situation where not doing it wasn't an option. You had young kids, you had to move forward. And I think being in that situation forces you to develop persistence. And maybe part of it is facing a worst case scenario and facing really bad situations. I've been through financial crisis. I've dealt with that. I've had tragic deaths in our family. And once you've gone through some adversity, then it develops some toughness. So I appreciate your transparency, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But one more question about mindset. Do you have any routines or habits, whether they're daily, weekly, monthly, that you are intentional about to maintain your mindset?
Absolutely. I, on a daily basis, have to be able to take some time away from the noise of my life, my phone, children, my spouse, any disruptions. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, I have to be able to close my eyes and really think about my goals and my desires. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I feel that when you take that time and you open your thoughts, you open your mind, you allow the universe to come in and help guide you, help give you inspiration, guidance, direction in your life that you may not hear or feel if you're constantly on the go. So that's something I always recommend to people. If you're a religious person and you pray often, or if you're not, then find time to do meditation. And meditation, I think people feel that you have to do it in a yoga stance or, have that like inner chi, but meditation truly is just being able to put away all the noise and then find that inner peace within you so that you can resonate on a higher level to receive those feelings from a higher up, right? Whether it's the universe or people who are spiritual, obviously, for them, it's God or Jesus Christ or whoever that higher inspiration, that higher guidance for them would be. But for me, it's definitely crucial that I have that moment on a daily basis, because for me, at least, my life is very busy and chaotic, and my thoughts and what do I have to do next? And, I need to do this, and kids have got to go here. If I don't find that time, then suddenly I start to feel like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm so confused. I'm lost. I have no direction. And then I start feeling like I'm almost wandering around in my mind, thinking I'm not being as productive in what I should be doing, rather than just doing stuff to get it done or staying busy because I've just automatically turned on autopilot. So on a daily basis, I definitely take at least 10 to 15 minutes a day and have that meditation time for myself.
And is that something you like to do in the morning, first thing? Is it at the end of the day? If things went just the way you wanted to, when would you have that time?
Well, so I don't have expectations for myself on my time, as long as I get it done in the day, because with life being so crazy and the kids having to be here, there, or, schedules not going as I, had hoped during the day. I can take time, whether it's in the morning, if I realize, okay, I can take this time for 15 minutes out of my 24-hour day. I can take this time to have that meditation. I'll take it. If it's in the middle of the day, I'll take it. If it's in the afternoon, I'll take it. Ideally, I think what would be really nice if life was perfect, and ideally if I could have it, I probably would like to start off my day with all of the thoughts that I have, all of my goals, my desires, my aspirations, have more clarity so that I can start my day off always on the right foot. But I also give myself grace of not being so hard on myself, of my life not going in that order. I give myself grace saying, you know what? I'm proud of you, Corina, for taking that 15 minutes at lunch, or at bedtime when I finally have the kids asleep. And, it allows me to feel that peace. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes if we set expectations on ourselves, we try to accomplish this peace, but then we beat ourselves up because we didn't do it just right, then that's kind of counterproductive. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like when you say, okay, this is going to be my morning routine, and it's almost forced. It doesn't come in a sincere way. It's like another check off your box. And I don't want it to be a check off my box. I want to really be able to feel my desires. Do you follow Dr. Dispinoza? Is that how you say his last name? Dispinoza.
I'm not familiar with that name.
So he talks a lot about our mental, our minds, our state of mind, and when you think of your thoughts in a way that they're real, you create what you want, right? Your mind is so powerful that you can create healing, you can create happiness, you can create abundance, wealth, success. But he always says you have to do it in a way, though, that you truly feel those feelings. I genuinely feel that I'm healthy. I genuinely feel that I'm happy. I genuinely feel that I'm going to have this large amount of money coming. So if you're just checking off the box, okay, yes, I did my, prayer, my meditation today, but you're really not taking the time to feel those feelings and feel the abundance and feel the success, where when you open your eyes, you're like, yes, I truly feel like this is happening to me. It's happening. It's not going to happen. It's happening. Is when you start creating that positivity in your life, and then positivity attracts the abundance.
Yeah, this is so powerful. This is something I think should be taught probably in school. I didn't learn it until just a few years ago, maybe the last 5 years. But books like Think and Grow Rich, and then speakers like Earl Nightingale. The mind is so powerful. And I think so many people, it's probably the reason people are their own worst enemy, because of this topic I want to talk about in a few minutes, doubt and fear. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I have a book recommendation I'll share with you at the end of this you may enjoy. But let's pause and let's talk about your business for a few minutes. What type of business do you own? Where are you located in the world? And let's start with that.
So I own a specialty construction cleaning company. So we're not a janitorial company. We specialize in construction cleaning, which are very far and few in between companies in the United States. Most companies that offer construction cleaning are also encompassed in a janitorial company. But I decided, along with my business partner, that I did not want to offer janitorial services with our company, because the more that I learned about the services, I worked in janitorial for about a year in my career. And when I started to learn about construction cleaning, I thought they are night and day. So they're truly night and day services. I would not personally want someone who does janitorial to go onto my construction site to do any of the cleaning. If I was a construction owner, I would automatically be like, I'm going to question if you have, proper workers, people who understand safety in the construction world, understand the dynamics of what it means to clean in a construction world versus, just wiping down office desks or, wiping the bathrooms down and vacuuming. So it was really exciting and interesting to start bringing in something that is very new in our cleaning world. And when I started the company, we started it in the city that we live in, which is Gilbert, Arizona, and we service all of the Phoenix area. We also go out to Tucson, and if our clients need us to travel, we're able to do that as well. But during the pandemic, we were still, we're still a new company. Our company is just over a year old. We're going in our second year. My gosh. I apologize. Did that interrupt I I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. No, that's no problem.
No, sorry. I thought I had, my phone is being crazy. Sorry. What was I saying?
You serviced
about is over a year and a half old. Next year, we'll be celebrating our 2-year anniversary. But during the pandemic, we were able to go from Arizona to grow into Utah to grow into California because our service is highly needed with construction companies because we specialize in the service that they need. I feel like there was another question that you had asked me in regards to.
No, that gives me a good idea. One question I do have is, what was the decision-making process that you went through to decide to focus on construction cleaning? Or I guess the short question would be, why did you decide to go into construction cleaning?
Well, my background is in restoration services, and I did not want to create another restoration company here in the Valley. There is probably about 350 restoration companies here. And although there are several that are doing very well, and congratulations for them, I didn't want to be 351, essentially. And it's not that I have, my whole background is restoration, and I did very, very well. I was successful doing commercial real estate restoration services, but I wanted to be able to create a company that made a difference in the industry. I wanted to offer something that was different, that would be able to be a problem-solving company. And I did have one particular person approach me when I had left the restoration world, and I was kind of out seeking what am I going to do with my life moment. I had decided to work for another company, just kind of in the same industry, but not doing restoration services. I was still in property management industry. And I had a construction project manager approached me and asked, do you by chance do construction cleaning? Literally, like this was this conversation we had at lunch. And I was like, no, the company I work for does not do that. And I started to think about that more. And I was like, what is with this construction cleaning? Because, I started asking questions about it. And, he was telling me, that they always have to have it and that they struggle finding a good construction cleaning company. And at the time, it was someone that I was working with who's now my business partner. His name's Patrick Mays. I had lunch with him one day, and I was just bringing up the topic of conversation about construction cleaning. And he was telling me, his background, sorry, I should back up a minute. His background is about 15 years in the facility maintenance industry. And so in that time, he had the experience of doing construction cleaning, pricing, knew the profit margin on it. And so he was like, yeah, that's actually a really great industry. In my experience, the company I worked for, who, they had done the construction cleaning, did very, very well financially. And so I was like, well, then what the heck? This is what we should be doing. We should totally start our own construction cleaning company, because my business partner, his entire background is running and managing businesses, operations. And my background is getting work, business. That's BD, sales, marketing, all of that. So I was like, well, this is a great dynamics for us. He'll do the operations and I will make sure that we get all of the work. And once I started asking more questions with several other project managers in the industry, they started to also tell me that there was a lack and need in the construction cleaning industry. And so that's when, my business partner and I decided to move forward with it. And we have just been chugging along pretty quickly since that moment. It's been a very awesome experience, and I'm super, super grateful for it. But I didn't expect it. I'll tell you that.
Sounds like it came to you.
My expectations were not this. I had a goal in mind of being extremely successful, kicking ass, and doing very well. But to the rate that it's been going, I did not have this expectations. And I feel very grateful that it's over exceeded what I have expected in this short amount of time.
So what was one thing that you believed about being a business owner that you were surprised to find out wasn't true after you got started?
Wasn't true. Yes. This was one of the questions that I saw that you had asked. And I thought, I don't know if I have necessarily an answer to that. There are new things that I've experienced that I had no idea that I would be experiencing them, if that makes sense. So I've had a lot of aha moments, a lot of growth, understanding. And I've also had moments where I have seen people be very, very supportive. I believe I actually wrote a post about this specifically. I have come to notice that I get a lot of support from some very close people to me, but I would say the majority of people who are very supportive are strangers, people who don't even know me, people who are, see me putting myself out there, putting my company out there, putting that transparency out there. And they're, hey, Corina, I want to work with you. How can we work together? And that's essentially how my company has grown from Arizona to California to Utah, because strangers, complete strangers who have seen what I've been putting out there, the type of business we are, they want to give us an opportunity. They wanted to become partners with us. And I was very surprised to see how some people who I thought were my friends, people who I thought were my supportive group, very seldom show their face and are not very supportive. And I think that's probably one thing that is a little bit, and I wonder if other people feel the same as a business owner, if they see a lot more of their haters, so to speak, or if they're getting cheered on from everyone from every side and angle. But I guess I was surprised by that. I was surprised to see how some of the people that are closest to you are not nearly as supportive as you think they would be versus people who are strangers learning about your company.
Yeah, it seems like some people are really supportive as long as you stay where you're at. But then when you start to grow, then maybe they're faced with a choice and they have to decide, well, maybe it's either I recognize that I could do the same thing as Corina, or I'll just attack her because what she's doing challenges my belief system about the universe or the world. So yeah, it's that's unfortunate, but that I think the transparency, your approach to the content you put out there, sounds like that has certainly contributed to that. So we've teased out this whole concept of transparency long enough. It's time for me to actually talk about it. So let's talk about transparency. You're very transparent. You've been very authentic and transparent on this podcast. Your LinkedIn posts are very transparent about your fears and doubts and things you've gone through. And you there are a lot of people out there who put on the highlight reel. I have yet to see you standing in front of a private jet or getting out of a Maserati saying, "Look at me." I've yet to see any posts where you have stacks of $100 bills. I don't see your $100 bills must not be on your table there. They're probably behind the camera. But there are a lot of people out there doing that, and that's definitely not you. But some people would avoid transparency. Some people are very reluctant to share their story or even talk about themselves or do anything on social media. What would you say to those people who are afraid of transparency and authenticity?
I would definitely say that feeling of putting yourself out there is not a sign of weakness. I think that's what people automatically assume. When you put yourself out there, when you share something that is so meaningful to you, and maybe you don't get the response that you're looking for, or you're afraid of what people are going to think, that instant insecurity makes you feel like you are inadequate, you are not enough, or what is the word I'm looking for? Just a major insecurity, and people don't like to feel like that. And when you put yourself out there, it's not a moment of being weak. It is actually a moment of being strong. And to be able to go through those feelings and still be able to put that out there and say, this is me, this is what I've been through, and this is where I am today, is a sign of strength rather than a sign of weakness. Maybe while you're doing it, it feels very uncomfortable. And I still struggle when I create posts. I think I actually felt like this on Friday. I put a post out there, and before I posted it, I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It makes me sometimes feel like cringy inside. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I even saying this? Am I even helping anyone? What I'm putting out there, is it resonating with people? And, I made my post and I said, whatever, I'm not going to even think about it. I'm just going to put it out there. And then I watched this YouTube uplifting video about how, I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but he is this amazing speaker and went from being this unsuccessful person. He felt he was overweight, very unhealthy, in his late 30s, going from that to being this amazing athlete and speaker and triathlon, person. And I was listening to his YouTube video, and he said, one of the worst things in the military that they told him was, don't be unique, don't stand out, don't try to be different at all. And he said that was the worst advice I could have ever gotten. And he says, don't give a shit about what other people think. You need to just put yourself out there. You need to believe that you have something to offer and that you can create anything that you want. And I really allowed that to resonate with me. And I thought about it some more, and, I kind of let it be. But then that night I thought about it again. And when I woke up that morning, I had this feeling about sharing about how to be the picture of our lives. And what does that look like? The picture of our lives may not always look so perfect, and it may not look like you're ready to embark on this new journey or to take on these new challenges. and trials or tribulations, because, if I do X, Y, Z, then it's going to, may cause, financial distress, or if I decide to go back to school or make this change in my life. There's just so many fears. And if your picture doesn't look perfect, I guess I can't do it. I guess I'm not ready. And I elaborated on that on my post. And it was a picture of my daughter, my little girl, and I was traveling for work, and I got to take my little girl with me. And I essentially had said, just because your picture doesn't look perfect, it doesn't mean that you can't achieve everything that you want. And my point of all of this was that because I was able to be transparent and say, there was a point I had no money. There was a point I had no work experience. There was a point that I had no college education. I had nothing to my name. And I was able to share that with people. And I said, I didn't care, because I didn't let that picture change the goals that I had for myself. And the amount of people that had messaged me saying that, that message resonated with them. And I felt honestly so blessed knowing that I listened to my intuition and said, I can't let my own fears delegate what I need to do. And I need to be able to be open and honest. And there are people out there who really need that, nudge in the right direction, or to know that they're not alone and they're not on this journey by themselves of feeling like, people around them are telling them, you can't do this. Like, this is impossible. And, you're going to be the driver of your own life. But it is very scary when you are doing it by yourself and you don't have anyone there to kind of say, hey, I'm a regular person. I'm not in my Maserati. I don't have millions of dollars around me. I'm not on a jet. I'm just like you. And I can do this every day. And so can you.
So good. So good. I work with a lot of business owners. I've had several live events, training events, and we'll spend a day and a half or 2 days in a conference room training, and I'll interview people after an event and I'll ask them, what was the best part for you? And now when I draw a pie chart of the value of an event like this, like 3/4 of the value is from being around other people. And I say that because the consistent thing I hear from people after they've spent time with other business owners is they say something like, it's so good to know I'm not the only one struggling with this. And it turns out that isolation and loneliness and all the things that try to separate us from other people, that's really the problem. And it's a lack of, it's isolation. And those expectations that we have where we think we should be further along. And so when we're not where we think we should be, we isolate ourselves and we separate, and then we throw stones at other people. It's just so destructive. And I found the same thing. I've been sharing content, and the stuff that resonates with people is authentic. It's transparent. It's when I talk about my failures and my mistakes, and I'm completely okay with that. And that's really what resonates with people. And it sounds like it's really led to a lot of your success in business, because you have people reaching out saying, hey, let's figure out a way to work together. They don't know what you're doing, but it sounds like they want to work with you. So such a fascinating strategy.
When I started posting on LinkedIn, really geared towards transparency, it really started as an opportunity for those I'm connected with to really get to know who Corina Burton is. And this is the type of person that you will be working with. And this is the type of company that I'm offering. Somebody who is transparent, someone who's honest, someone who has integrity. And I mean, how many times do you do business with people and you have, not that everyone's required to share who they are, but how many people do you do business with and you have no clue who they are? You don't know if they're going to be honorable with their word. You don't know if they're care of you. You don't know about their work integrity. There's just so many things that you don't know when you start to become an industry partner. And for what I do for my business, for us, it's extremely important for our clients to feel like they're a partner. They're not just someone we work with, and vice versa. It is a true industry partnership. And the only way that you can have a true industry partnership is by having transparency, is by having an actual relationship with the people that you work with, and that they know who you are. And so, especially during COVID, I couldn't go out and meet with clients and have lunch and have that genuine connection with people. And I thought, we are so blessed and we're so fortunate to have this opportunity to have the social media where we can put ourselves out there and we can share who we are, and people still can learn about companies online. I mean, we live in a world though where it is not transparent. We live in a very fake world on Instagram and any social media platform. And sometimes it's hard to know who's who and what's what. And the things that I have gone through in the past 17 years of my life, it has been so many different things. But the past 9 years of my life, I've been through where I worked for someone and they stole thousands of dollars from me. I then worked for someone else, and it was a good work experience. And then I decided that it was time for me to embark on something new and work for a national company and see what I could achieve at that company. And then I had an opportunity to become business partners with one of the companies that I had worked with. And that particular person was not transparent and did not follow through with his promises and, our partnership and these experiences that I went through when I had that loss of making the decision to walk away from being a business owner the first time. I essentially felt like I failed. I felt like, oh my gosh, like how many more hardships do I have to go through? And I felt very lost and confused. And yes, I took a moment to feel that pain and sorrow, but I got back up and got back on the horse saying, no, I'm going to persevere. And I have made a promise to myself that even though I haven't had people to help me, I want to be that person for other people. And really, COVID kicked that kicked me right in the gear to get going with that, because, maybe I would still be more shy and not putting myself out there. And like I said, you have this expectation of how your business is going to go, but life has a totally different idea of how it's going to handle it. And then you just kind of have to guide yourself on what that's going to look like. And that's the one thing I'm very grateful for is, yes, 2020 has been a struggle for so many people and it has been a lot of hardships, but the things that we've been forced to have to pull from deep within to be able to survive and to be successful, I am so grateful for. I'm grateful for the experience, because I wouldn't even be where I am today if I wouldn't have had this experience. So, transparency for me is very important. And I'm seeing that it's important for other people as well. So maybe I'm not hitting millions and millions of people, but maybe one day, I don't know, I just continue to share and put myself out there. And
yeah, transparency and authenticity is very rare these days. It's a rare currency, and people are looking for it. So I appreciate you sharing that. So last question for you before we give people an opportunity to find out where they can connect with you is, what advice would you give to women in the construction industry who are invested in the industry, want to move up into leadership or even becoming a business owner?
Well, since I've been in the construction industry for the last 10 years, essentially, over time, I've had to get real thick skin, and I've had to present myself in a very different way than most industries, because I looked very young in the industry. I wasn't taken seriously, or appearance-wise, I wasn't always taken very seriously. And so I really had to work hard to know my industry. And if you're a business owner, you need to really, truly know what it is your business is about, what you have to offer, and know it up and down, back and forth, sideways. You cannot let any of these guys, majority of them are guys, try to trip you up and make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, or, that you're not educated in the industry. And those are the things that I had to work with and work on initially when I was in the industry. And so that's a major rule of thumb: have thick skin and be able to say, I'm a woman in an industry with, predominantly male. Hear me roar. Like, I know I can, and I will do a great job, and I'm very professional, and I'm just as great as the next male business owner in the industry. So thick skin, you got to have it. And, it's not always easy, and sometimes it can be frustrating, but, girls can be a little bit more emotional with it. But over time, I've just gotten to be to that point where you turn business on, you turn business off. So as a female, learning how to do that is really key, especially in this industry.
Yeah. I have 3 daughters, and so I'm all about empowering women. I want them to take over the world, go out there and kick ass, and frankly, as somebody who's been in the construction industry for 20 plus years, I see it as an advantage. I think women have a distinct advantage because of the skill set you have. I mean, frankly, I think women are far superior to men when it comes to just about everything that matters. So I think it's an advantage. Many people would say, hey, what's it like to struggle and try to compete in a male dominated industry? I would flip it around and say, let's find my advantage, because there are definite advantages in that. So it really depends on how you look at it. And I think another question was your advice, but you've been giving great advice this entire time. So transparency, know yourself, be confident, have thick skin, such great stuff. So I really appreciate how generous you've been with your time and how transparent and authentic you've been, not only on this podcast, but on LinkedIn. And I want to go ahead and wrap this up and be aware of your time. So if people want to connect with you, Corina, where can they go? Should they go to your company website, look you up on social media? I know there will be people who want to follow you and reach out to you. Where's the best place or places they can do that?
So you can absolutely find us on our website, but to connect with me directly, with most of my content that I share is predominantly on LinkedIn versus any other platform. I don't share any of the same content on Instagram or Facebook. My personal branding is 100% on LinkedIn. So if that's something that someone is interested in, I would absolutely recommend them to follow me on LinkedIn rather than trying to find me on Instagram. Because on Instagram, I do have some people on LinkedIn try to add me on Instagram, and you're just going to see a whole heck of a lot of my 4 girls. That's it. You won't see really any anything else other than that, I really just keep it 100% geared towards my LinkedIn connections.
Excellent. Well, I will include the link to your company website and then also your LinkedIn profile in the show notes on this podcast. So, Corina, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure we could talk for a long time, but thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for being authentic and sharing your story, and certainly for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
There you go. I hope you got as much out of that interview as I did. Be sure to connect with Corina on LinkedIn, send her a message, and thank her for sharing her story. And don't forget, don't send out another free estimate until you've watched my free training video with the 3 questions that you can ask your prospects that will make them see why they want to pay you to put together an estimate. Let's end the practice of free estimates. You can get your free training video over at buildermasterclass.com/script. That's buildermasterclass.com/script. I appreciate the ratings and the reviews. If you get value out of this podcast, if you could take 60 seconds and leave a rating and a review, that would mean a lot to me, and it also helps get the word out there to other folks on the interwebs. If you could share this podcast with somebody, send them a text message, send them an email, tell them to check this out. There are about 190 or so other episodes right now. Maybe not quite as good as this one, let's be honest, but there's a lot of great content out there. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I appreciate the ratings, the reviews, the messages you send. One last request. We're at the beginning of 2021, so my question for you is, what do you want from me? Do you want a masterclass on financial mastery, on how to be a CFO? Do you want a masterclass on how to systematize your business? Do you want to learn how to sell better? Do you want live events? What do you want from me? If you have something specific and you're like, man, I wish Todd would do this, send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. I'm putting together the plan for the year, and I want to put together stuff that's valuable for you. So thank you so much for listening. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'll see you next time. LL Flooring offers over 400 floors in both the latest styles and timeless looks, from hardwood and laminate to waterproof flooring. There's a floor for any style and every budget. Visit the experts at your local store or go to llflooring.com/pro.